Alright, Chapter 12, Field Manual 1067-1, Section 1, tank cleaning precautions and equipment. Need for planning training before tank cleaning. During and after fuel handling operation, fuel vapors accidentally reignite, causing the fire. Explosive with the change of the occurring during the tank cleaning is very especially high. There are other health and physical hazards involved with making the tank cleaning a dangerous work. The job is performed with the death and injury, property damage of the cleaning operation, carefully planned step by step. The members of the cleaning detail receive the extensive training, working now with the danger of the involved with the hands-on experience with the safety equipment that are essential for the last two members of the cleaning. With the details must be trained and tested. First day of the training must include cardiopulmonary resuscitation training for vapor inhalation. In addition, for the cleaning of the detail, supervisors must prepare a fire plan and tank for the tank in event of the fuel vapors ignited. Warning: provide confined spaces. All requirements on the OSHA confined space entry program must be met. Prevention of fire and explosion. The danger of fire and explosion during the tank cleaning operation comes from the possibility of ignition of fuel vapor. The best way to prevent fire explosion during tank cleaning there be to eliminate all sources of ignition to reduce the concentration of vapors at a point where they will be ignited. If the fuel vapors can be ignited while they come in contact with the source of ignition, then possibly only a certain amount of the fuel vapor has been combined with the air. To make sure 1 to 8% of the fuel vapor that will ignite at once if it comes in contact with the spark or flame. Mixture will burn when ignited. Open air with the hot gases produced. The room is expanded with the mixture will explode with has ignited with a closed space with the heated gases that have no place to go. Mixture less than 1% of the fuel vapor is too lean to ignite. Mixture with which more than 8% of the fuel vapor is too rich to ignite. Care must be taken with opening a tank that mixture too rich and too ignite. With the too rich mixture will quickly change into ignitable mixture after opening the tank. Hydrogen sulfide vapor is found in the crude oil tanks can also combust with the ignite with the hydrogen sulfide content of the tank between 4.3% and 46%. The explosion and fire does not occur during the tank cleaning operation. For the concentration of fuel hydrogen sulfide vapor that must be reduced quickly as possible. The level that will ignite. They must way to reduce the concentration and circulate air through the tank. Air weakens if it dilutes the vapor concentration. Eventually, the air displaced for the vapors completely. Care must be taken to make sure the vapors are not allowed to collect. Although air is outside the tank, the vapors should be ignited outside of the tank. The fire could be sped back to the tank. The other sources of the ignite are covered in Chapter 2 of the tank. Of this manual. Health atmosphere inside the tank has been removed from the surface of the hazardous health. The danger lies in several areas. Presence of fuel and sludge. Physical contact with fuel and sludge can cause serious damage to the skin. Fuel and sludge removal of the natural oils, leaving the skin chapped and cracked. Cracks are avenues to disease and infection to enter the body. Areas of skin, wet fuels, and storage. Sludge must be washed at once with soap and water. Cleaning details wear of the white clothing so that fuel stains can be spotted easily. They may also wear rubber gloves and boots to protect hands and feet. Presence of fuel vapor. The fuel vapors, especially gasoline, jet fuel, that are narcotic. Inhaling these vapors slowly central nervous lentil system and pain point of the breathing stops. In addition to inhaling all of the even small amount of these vapors, the irritating lung with the respiratory system, causing the pneumonia, leaving a person open to other respiratory diseases, poison, toxic system at limits of 500 parts per million. Cleaning details must be repaired respiratory equipment while working until the test of fuel of the vapors produced and reading at below the limit. Workers must work in the tank up to 8 hours without respiratory equipment. Does not apply with the tank that has been used in stored loaded fuels. Present the tetraethyl lead. Tetraethyl lead poisons liquid. Contact with tetraethyl lead can result in lead poisoning. Therefore, care must be taken to enter the tank that had been used in stored lead fuel. Inhaling fuel vapors can clean detailed with the respiratory equipment. Working lead fuel storage tank. The equipment must be used after the tank has been tested, declared vapor-free for inhalation. Dust particles from scale of the walls can also result in death. Workers must avoid direct contact with lead, sludge, and since lethal amounts of lead can be absorbed in through the skin. Sludge is dangerous after it has been removed from the tank, so the greater care must be taken with disposal. The tank is not safe unless it has been cleaned down to the bare metal. Alright, your presence of hydrogen sulfide exposure to hydrogen sulfide can cause death of the paralyzing respiratory system. Victims can unconscious but never regain consciousness. Mild exposures damage eyes. Hydrogen sulfide, which is found in the crude oil with a high sulfur content, usually detected with a rotten egg odor, but never causes even the sense of the smell. Determine that not the hydrogen sulfide is present in the tank. Use a piece of moist lead acetate paper instead. Hydrogen sulfide is present in the tank. It will blacken the paper. Concentration of hydrogen sulfide vapor may be measured with a hydrogen sulfide detector. Toxic level to 100 parts per million. If not safe, the work in the tank without respiratory equipment until readings are at or below the level. or lack of oxygen. Normal air contains 21% oxygen concentration less than 7 inches. 7% damage fuel vapors according to the narcotic display for the oxygen of the tank. Respiratory equipment must be during the tank cleaning until the tank has been cleared of fuel vapors. Care must also be taken to ensure the cleaning of the tank has been closed for a long time. Middle side and surface inside where there may have rusted using up oxygen inside the tank. No one should enter the tank until the fresh air has been allowed to circulate inside of the tank. For more health hazards, see Chapter 2 of this manual. Physical hazards and fire health hazards of the physical hazards avoided in tank cleaning. Remember the cleaning detail precautions. Avoid the following: collapse of the ladder, scaffold, stairways. Make sure the good condition is securely attached to the tank. Collapse of thin roof section. Use the wood planks and distribute weight evenly with the working on the roof. Accidentally pumping of the fuel into the tank. Make sure the lines of the tank of the baffle off the blind flange of the figure 8 blinds and depend on closed valve tool objects dropping above the handful tools carefully. Do not drop them through the roof manhole. Make sure the fixtures inside of the tank securely attached to the tank cannot be knocked down. Lower the swivel joint and pipe to prevent accident releasing of the cleaning operation. Slipping on wet floors or tripping over the hose and pipe fittings due to the extreme cost of moving them around inside the tank. Colliding with other tanks and tank support poorly lighted tank. Make sure lighting is adequate. Workers wear white so they can easily be seen. Safety equipment shown figure 12 to 13 cleanly contains nearly everything necessary to provide a physical respiratory protection for the two members of the cleaning detail. No one must enter the tank without having some experience handling operating component of one of the other side. Show the carrying case, handle, operator, air hose, lifeline, harness, rubber gloves, fire boots, explosion meter, and respirator. Respirator and air hose. The two respirator 4 rubber air hose sets are respirators, face mask, and attached to the air hose. The two respirator proof of the marrow mines will connect with the blower, and respirators provide with the incident and supply fresh air to the wearer. They must be worn at all times inside of the tank used to store the lead fuel. They must be worn inside all other tanks that have been tested or found to be worn inside clearing tanks that have been closed for a long time. Filling precaution must be taken of respirators and air hoses. Inspect your respirators before each use. Also inspect them as they are stored. Make necessary repairs and ensure the respirator is ready for use at all time. Test respirator before each use. Test respirator cuff air supply to the mask a few seconds by covering the end of the palm of the hand shown figure 1214, page 1215. If there are no leaks and the straps have been adjusted properly, face the piece of collapse against the face. Face piece will collapse against the face. Or when attaching respirators, air hose, to make sure of the connection of the tank with the gases are either provide airtight seal if the worn gas is necessary. Never remove the respirator with the inside of the tank. Tank must have vapor-free face pieces could be contaminated. When entering a tank, lift the air hose over the edge of the manhole and put the edge of the manhole to prevent the damage hose. Remember the clearing of the data. Enter the detail enter of the tank. Someone must be assigned to tend the air hose and to keep the worn under the observation at all times. The attendant must be dressed, outfitted, and enter the tank to the rescue and conspicuous injured worker. Not yank or twist and step on air hose while inside the tank. Do not wrap air hose, lifelines, anything that could make an emergency exit difficult. Wash each face mask, air hose with soap and water at each end of each day. Let them dry before storing. Show the 12-4 testing a respirator. Hand-operated blower. The blower mounted inside the one over the two carrying cases set with the handle with a detachable mount with the outside of the case. Was operated a lid glove with the handle is turned. The fresh air is fed through the air hose of the respirator blower. Must step with the windward side of the tank to make sure that the cleaning detail of the receiving the fresh air blowers must be tended at all times while workers wear respirators. Leather harness and lifelines. Leather harness and lifelines are set. Workers wear hard harnesses and tank wear with respirators. Lifelines attached with back of the harness. Lifelines are tended with the same work attending the air hose. Lifelines are used to trace worker inside the tank and pull and conspicuously work to safety. All harnesses, lifelines must be clean and all dry before they are restored. Fireman boots and rubber gloves. The fire force-set boots and gloves are provided with a safety equipment set with the boots and gloves and fuel-resistant boots have reinforced steel non-slip soles. Boots and gloves must be worn in tank at all times. Explosive meter and one explosive meter combustible gas indicator shown in figure 12.5. Two sampling lobes, a probe area and a safety equipment set. The explosive meter is determined how explosive tank so the atmosphere is inside the tank. The explosive meter must be approved by the Bureau of Mines. Shows 12.15 shows the explosive meter. Alright, operation. Squeezing the rubber section of the bulb job of the air sample of the probe with the sampling in line with the analyzer unit. The filament inside of the unit burns the fuel vapors and sample. The fuel product is protected by a film. The rest of fuel vapors inside of the tank are not ignited. Filament is part of the electrical circuit supplied with the current with the dry cell batteries. Burning fuel vapors increase the temperature of the filament as the result of the increase of the electrical resistance of the filament of the tuner and creates a voltage imbalance which both move the needle with the dial. The explosive meter, the greater the concentration of fuel vapors, the higher the reading. Reading explosive meter does not meter a measure of the percentage of the volume in the tank, measure of the fuel vapor, the measure of how explosive the contents are in the tank. Concentration 1% vapor, fuel vapor is explosive 100 reading, and 100% explosive meter means at least 1% of the content of the tank is consisted of fuel vapors, which makes the contents of 100% explosive. No one should enter the tank with an explosive meter reading above 100%. Reading between 14% and 100% means the tank is not safe because of the toxic vapors. Workers must go into the tank unless workers must not go in the tank unless they are wearing respirators. Reading between 4 and 14% means the worker can go into the tank without respiratory equipment, but only for a very short time. Being on the safe side, such trips should be discouraged. Reading of 4% of the explosion meter converts approximately 500 parts per million toxic limit of fuel vapors for members of the cleaning detail working in storage tank 8 hours at a time. Respiratory equipment with explosive meter reading of 4% or less. Alright, no, this does not apply with the tank that have been stored with lead fuel with the direction of the youth and try the explosive meter file with the shift the obtain with 6 fresh 1.5 volt dry cell batteries, put them in explosive meter, turn on with the explosive meter vapor free area outside of the tank, flush the explosive meter with fresh air, squeeze the bulb 5 times, and 2 squeezes for the every 10 feet of the line sampling line to be used. Move near the open manhole of the tank take the sample of the air inside of the tank, squeezing the bulb until the reading of the explosive meter remains steady where the protective equipment. Note the reading is should concentrate of the combustible vapors and sample the flush explosive meter with fresh air with each use. Turn the explosive meter off, remove the batteries from the storing of the unit. Is served with the unit necessary for the following direction of the manufacturer's manual. Alright, your hydrogen sulfide direct detector. The cleaning detail determine the kind of fuel for the store in the tank before the starting and operation of the tank chute for the store. Crude oils must be tested with the pressure of the hydrogen sulfide. The cleaning detail unable to determine the kind of fuel for the store in the tank. The tank must be tested with the hydrogen sulfide to be on the safe side. Respiratory equipment must be worn during the test. Hydrogen sulfide detector is shown figure 12.6 consists of the suction bulb glass detector tube frame with a scale of the hydrogen sulfide detector breaks off the end of the glass detector tube, the insert of the tube into the frame, screw the bulb 10 times to drill the sample into the tube, reading on the scale with the showing the percent and containing the 4.3%. 46% of hydrogen sulfide is explosive with a toxic limit of 20 parts per million at 0 or 200,000 per percent. Members of the cleaning detail must go in the tank of the percent with the hydrogen sulfide less than 4.3%. They must not remove the respirators until the vapor in the tank is vapor free. Figure 12.6 says hydrogen sulfide detector, glass tube frame and suction bulb. A fire extinguisher, a fire caused by ignited vapor to Class B5 loaded stream foam with a carbon dioxide dry chemical fire, maybe even the Class B5. The extinguishers are available in hand wheel units. Members of the cleaning detail know how to operate fire extinguishers effectively only with the fire stage of the fire, so cleaning detail should be trained accurately. Quickly see Chapter 2 for more information about glass and fire extinguishers. Protective clothing and equipment. Members of cleaning the detail of the must wear clean white cotton overalls when they go inside the tank. White must be covered easily inside of the drum tank. It should be fuel sustained easily. Cotton must be used because it cuts down the generation of static electricity. All protective clothing must be laundered at the end of each workday. Protect the team from falling objects, debris that may fall. Wearing safety helmets, they must go inside the tank. The respirators are no longer needed. They will wear goggles to protect their eyes from loose sail and cleaning solvent in the tank. Section 3, storage tank cleaning.